Hi guys, I'm Ree,
Mar.
I'm Cheyenne.
and this is the need to know. So today we have a wonderful returning guest, and I'm just gonna let her introduce herself before we get into it. Okay.
I'm Cheyenne, also known as the creative. That's the name that people gave me. And I am an entrepreneur and a creative consultant. That's what I do day in and day out.
So we are going to have her talk a little bit more about that at the end, but we're gonna get into it. Actually, we're gonna get into it now at this point, but we're gonna talk about creator versus being creative. And I feel those are they're the same category, but two different things. So I want you guys to tell me what you guys think as well. So what do you guys think a creative versus a creator is? Creative versus a creator, yes.
So it's interesting. Like when I saw the topic name, I was just like, I wonder, like, where going with this? Like, what do you mean creator versus creative? I never looked at it differently per se. But then when you asked the question, I was just thinking like a creator, I feel is a leader of the creative. A creator is able to see almost like the difference, almost like a visionary type of thing. So the creator is able to envision something, but then it's the creative's job to take the vision and actually make do with it. There are some people that can operate on both ends of the spectrum. I believe I'm one of those people where like if I'm leading a team, I tend to see the vision more, but then I don't know how to get to what I saw. I'd rather leave it in the hands of other people to do. But then I'm also a team member in a team that's being led by another creator, and I'm able to take what they say
Right.
and create with it. So I believe I can work on both sides of the spectrum. Now, if it's something of mine, like for example, I'll use the creative space. I don't like to do both. Like I don't like to operate on both ends. Like it's just like it's difficult because it's just like I'm seeing the bigger picture right now. I don't see the small little
Right.
mosaic little pieces that will get us to that point. So it's just like I feel like the people around me, that's their job. Versus let's use I'm on a creative team and our pastor is the leader per se. I'm able to, if he says something, I'm able to take it and say, all right, these are a few things that we can do to implement what he spoke about. But honestly, all in all, to wrap this my whole answer up, I think I lean more towards the creator as far as like seeing the vision, because the little steps I always like fall. Team, if I'm a team member or a team leader, I'm just like, yeah, no, that's not my strength. So
When I first saw it too, I was like, aren't they the same? But no, I feel like in terms of being a creative, or being creative is more of like life. That's the way I like saw it. It's like, are you creative in life? And for me, it's like I have moments where I am, but more times than not, like I kind of lack in that area. Whereas being a creator, it's like it's easy for me because I've been doing it for so long that it's like creating content is like almost like second nature, where if I have to like pull out a camera or something, I could easily do it. Editing like used to be like scary for me because it was just like it takes hours and it's a lot of like small details. But the more I did it, the more it was just like, okay, I got an hour footage. Let me break it down and just edit it out. And like the need to know and like my YouTube especially helped considering like it wasn't necessarily like a client hiring me to like do work. It was more like it gave me time to practice and hone in on skills that like I needed in order to be like an effective creator. But yeah, I would say like the major difference is like a creative is to me is someone who in every area of life knows how to like figure it out. Whereas like a creator is more of someone who can see a vision and like create it, visually or yeah, like just create it visually. So for me, I think I fall more on the creator side versus creative. But I feel like you need some form of creativity in order to be a creator. Just because if you can't see a vision, then your creation is basically going to be somebody else's versus your own.
So the reason why I wrote that specific topic, and I like that you guys came up with that. At first, you guys didn't know, but then now it's because in at this point in our lives, like we're creators. Like we're like who we are and what we want to be and what journey we want to take. So we're creating that path, regardless of what it is. Now, to be creative, it's how are we getting ourselves to make it happen, whether it's with a team or without a team, And it's like for us, we have to figure that out and see where we fall And sometimes, like you said, we're either or. We cannot be both all the time. And I definitely understand that, because when you give someone a project and you create this project, you're like, okay, I see the vision, but if I don't have this extra creative, how am I going to be impactful? I feel is the best word. How am I going to be impactful and use their tools along with my tools to get the vision out? And I feel like that's what we do, regardless of who we are. Like, that's just what we do, because we have to lead into this journey. So for example, like, you consult. So at that point, you they're creating something. They created something. So it's like, how can I assist you to get that out there? Like, what creative tools can you use or do you need to get this done, And sometimes you can ask that question there, you're still like, I don't know, or it's like it's hard to figure it out because you're like, something is lacking, or you don't have the tools and you have to find the tools. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's more so we have to figure out where we lie on each side. So I feel like you both, like, I feel I'm on both sides, but I'm always more so creative, because I can take that creation and just make it happen, So like, I'm creative because I write. So I'm writing this piece, like, it's like, this is more than just a creation. Like, this is the creative aspect of that creation. So now this is the final product. This is what we want, the final product. And it's, how can you do this? Do you need a team, or did I do it by myself? And sometimes you can utilize your skills that you learned over time to get the job done. Because later down the line, you could be like, oh, I don't always need the team, because I've seen them and their tools to get me to this place. So I feel like we're always gonna, like you said, expand and adapt. And over time, and then there's tools that could just do it for us as well. Like, you have, when you're editing a video, that's the tool. You got the tool. You did it already, like, you already finished it. Like I said, I don't know how you guys do it, because that's some hard work. It's hard work. It's so hard. And it's like, you guys do it, you get it done. And it takes time. It takes practice, like, your first piece is never going to be the same as your current piece.
Regardless of whether you operate on the side of creator or creative, I think the thing that makes somebody such a dope creative, like, overall, is like what you said, is being able to adapt in like any situation. So it's just like, for example, I guess with the consulting, I'm not necessarily the leader of this thing tell me about, but it's just like, at that point, I'm able to say, okay, maybe you should do this, that, and the third to get to this point. um and all of the calls, the first question I ask is, imagine yourself 12 months from now. What do you see?
Yeah.
Like, with this very thing that you just came to me with, what do you see? And the thing is, I asked them, how do you see me helping you with that? Because there are some people, like you said, don't even know. It's just like, they could be creative themselves, but they don't even know like why they're calling on help. I just think that, and I'm saying that to say that regardless of like whatever role you choose to operate in for the day, I feel like the best creative is the one that is able to adapt in a situation. The one that, yeah, you may need to lead your own thing or own project at this point, but let's just say somebody needs you on something else, you switch hats type of thing.
I know for myself, like when I first started, I was only on like Premiere Pro, which is an editing software. So I would just strictly learn that. And I felt like I mastered it within like a year or two. But then, like certain clients would hit me up like, oh, I like graphic animations or different effects where you had to learn like After Effects or Illustrator or Audition with audio. So like the more I dived into like being a creator, it's like I learned very quick. Like there's a lot of other things that, which is fun about like the position I'm in now, is like I'm always learning, but then also too, like,
Yeah.
because times are changing, like you have to be able to learn every step of the way. Like you can't stop and feel like, okay, I've conquered everything, because there's always going to be something that you have to learn new, because it's like the new trending thing or whatever the case. So definitely being a creator is one of those things
Yeah.
that like
And
it never ends.
I found myself at fault for that. And I say that to say, because when I started editing before CapCut and all that type of stuff came out. And then even those little fast app things that were out when I was coming up or when I was learning, I didn't use it. I remember I bought Final Cut Pro and I I wouldn't say I mastered it, but I learned it and I've been using it for a few years now. And I felt like now I feel like I'm behind because I do not know how to use Premiere Pro. Like very basic editing, sure. But like to do a whole video, I'm like, I don't even know where to start. So I felt like, and then that's the same thing with like Photoshop. When I got into graphics, I used like Canva for a little bit of time. And then I went over into Adobe Suite and I started using Photoshop strictly. I never touched Illustrator, anything like that. I started learning that to make logos, good logos, you have to use Illustrator. So I never, so once I found, okay, I got Final Cut and I got Photoshop, that's where I stopped. And then now times are like literally like progressing. So it's like, you need to know this stuff. I'm just like, dang, I'm a little bit behind. Like if I took Premiere Pro serious before when I wanted to edit and even like Illustrator, I'm getting better with it. But I don't know half the stuff on the toolbar, like half of it, I really don't know. But to make a basic logo, I got you. But other than that, I wish that I, like you said, learned before because I feel like if I'm me learning now, it's like I'm rushed to learn that stuff.
Did you guys know about the Bard AI that Google has right now?
Yeah, I signed up for it. I didn't use it though.
But like, cause I had a coworker of mine that works in the building with me. Like they were doing one of their assignments and it literally wrote the whole paper. I was like,
Yeah, that's
what?
just like Chat GPT.
Oh
Like
yes, I heard about that one
I
too.
love Chat GPT. I just used Chat GPT yesterday to edit a contract for my consulting company. Literally, and they
Oh
were
yeah.
like, I said, I literally wrote, I need a fill in the blank contract, blah, blah, blah. And it like the whole thing just came up. I was like, what? It was crazy. It's
It's
crazy.
crazy. It's crazy because
Content
it's like
ideas, all of that.
because it's like this is a tool that we use now. What's going to happen next? You know, like it's
Mhm.
these are the things that if this is tomorrow, like what's now? You know, it's just so much. It's a useful tool. You know, it's going to always be a useful tool because there's always going to be something that we don't think of. You
And it
know,
makes you
there's a
lazy though.
it does. It does. It really does. I feel like, but I feel as if it's gonna be, I feel it's gonna be temporary because you're always gonna have the person who's gonna always do it the long way.
Yeah,
There's always gonna be people that do things the long way. That's why something that I was saying before was I don't feel like books are ever gonna go extinct because there's always gonna be someone older and
that's
someone
true.
that utilizes something physical over something, that's not. So that's me personally. Like I don't like to read ebooks, but I do because I that's an option. If I can get it in a compact version rather than fill up a bookshelf, I would. But like if I rather read a book because
Yeah.
but it's just like also when you go through things, it's always what's more accessible to people.
Mhm.
Like online classes is more accessible. Something that's electronic is more accessible. Give me a PDF, send me the PDF version,
Yeah,
more accessible. So it's like, even when you sign a contract, there's tools that you use to sign it electronically. You don't have to print out anymore and send it back. Like that, like these are just the progressions that we have. And it's just like over time, what's going to happen. That's a lot to think about.
I saw on like TikTok recently how they were saying like AI might hurt like a editor's position because
yeah,
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
you'll have like a tool where it will just do it all for you, so you don't have to do anything. But I think AI just in general, like it's a useful tool, but I think it's also temporary, like you said. I think because it's not really personal. I think people will
Yes.
still appreciate like a personal touch versus like a robot kind of editing or sorting out things because it may work for the most part, but then there might be one or two things that's like missing, or you feel
hmm
like someone who's like taking the time to actually do it for you. So I think that personal touch will always be missing. And I think AI would help, like even an editor, because sometimes, it gets tiring at a certain point. So if you could have that tool do it for you in like one instance, but I think for the whole entire thing, like
yeah,
it's gonna miss that personal effect.
yeah. I feel like AI should be used as an asset, but not a replacement. Like
Right.
just replace, like it's you just use it as an asset. So for example, for like content creators, um, type in unique content ideas, and then you're gonna have to tweak it to make it more personal for your
Right.
audience, but don't just like take what they say and run with it, the whole thing, or even like writing a paper or whatever. It's just like you got to be careful with that because it's just
Yeah.
or what they say. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like like adding or even like you said, cutting down time for your job. So, for example, say I have to write captions for people. That's not my strong suit. So I'm gonna go to Chat GPT and write, "Hey, I need captions for da 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 da," and then edit it around that. But I wouldn't like replace
Right.
everything with it because even down to the contract, I still have to read it over, add stuff, or take stuff out. So I just to make it an asset, yeah, but to replace people, it's just like, no, that's not smart.
It's true because you don't want it. You're never going to get that same emotional support that you get from a person. So it's like if you just replace that person now with this AI, it's like, okay, well, the impact that you get back in terms of a response is not going to be as beneficial. And then you have it where, like you said, it's going to show you overall what the edit should be, but it's not going to give you what you need to actually finish it. So that, like, those are the two different things that I feel like people are going to be like, oh, well, it could be a replacement. It shouldn't be, like you said, because you still have to you still have to change it. You still have to make an alternative. You still have to change it to where it's impactful at the same time. You just don't want to just copy and paste because what's that going to do? It's not going to do anything for you.
I feel like, I mean, the only thing left would be, I guess anybody that's watching that wants to be a creator or creative,
Oh,
um,
yeah. Some
like
advice.
just, yeah, I mean, don't be discouraged. I know it's a lot like to learn, but as long as you have fun with it, I think that's like the biggest thing that matters. Just because like you're not going to be a professional in the beginning, like you're probably going to suck. But after a while, like if you keep practicing, especially like doing it with friends or just getting the feedback. Yeah, and just for me, like I learned a lot of what I know through YouTube and TikTok. So
Yep.
like just watch a bunch of videos, like even things that you may not think you're into or interested in. Like if you know it and then you like practice it, it's like a tool that you have in your back pocket. So for me, it's just like just take the time to learn as much as possible and just have fun at the end of the day.
Don't don't be discouraged, but also don't be scared to let it take time. Like everything takes time. I feel like you don't like some things like is inevitable, you have to rush, and then there's things that aren't inevitable and you need to practice because practice does make perfect. And I don't want to say perfect, it makes progress. There's nothing is ever going to be perfect, and the thing that you think is perfect might not ever be perfect the next time you do it again. So it's more so practice for progression at that point, to make it better, to make progress.
I think what I would say to creators versus creatives or both, is don't be afraid to, I guess, switch hats. You may need to operate in one side for a moment and then another side for another moment, but don't be afraid to switch hats and also to see where that can take you in your own creativity. Even with your personal projects, maybe sometimes you are the visionary of it, and then another time you're gonna have to be the creative of it and actually do the actual work. So don't like shy away from doing that. And I know sometimes it's tiring because it's just like that's just a lot of work. But the point of creativity, honestly, I feel is to have fun. Like have fun and be you because you never know like what your creative projects, whatever you're working on, anything that you're working on, you never know like where it can take you and also where it can reach. One thing I always say is that creativity is so powerful that it can reach the other side of the world while you're sitting in your house behind a computer screen. Or even with your books, it can reach the other side of the world and you never would even touch, your feet would never even touch that area. But creativity is so powerful that it can travel beyond even us being alive. Like it could travel beyond. So the video that you post last year, if you leave it up there, it's still there and it'll be there forever. The book that you write, you publish it, it's there forever. So it's something that can, it's like, it's just, what is the word? An infinite thing. Like it's always traveling, it's always going. So, and that's where you got to be careful on what you put out too, because it's just always going to be there.
We are going to do our next topic, which is gender roles and relationships. And this is just, we're going to be broad and go through every relationship. We won't just stick to romantic ones, obviously. But So our current heated topic for this topic is a video that was on the Shade Room for an interview from Gabrielle Union and her 50-50 split. So we watched it before this, guy. So we watched it and we just got things to say. Something short, nothing crazy, but um I'll let you guys go first because I'm really trying to figure out what you guys think, because it's just like it was just so, I still don't know the word to give it. Like that's what, okay, go.
I guess I'll start. Because I didn't see it before. I saw people on social media talking about 50-50, but I just thought it was another day of debates for
Oh
people.
yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, whatever. But then Shamar was just like, it was on the Shade Room that's a Gabrielle Union and her husband. What's his name again? I forget his name.
Dwayne Wade,
Dwayne
right?
Wade. Yeah.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade.
Yeah. That's what they do. Now, well, one for me is just like, okay, that's their business. Like none of us are married to them, as far as I know. So it's just like that's their business. One, two, listening to Gabrielle Union, I guess I understood kind of why she felt the way she felt about, like, I guess having so much money and then operating in the scarcity mindset type thing. Because that is a struggle for people who did come from nothing and then they have something. They still have that mindset of, oh, I might not have enough. And like you have all this money, but you still struggle with, I might not have enough. Um, because the thing is, the crazy part, and I know I'm straying away, but I'm come back. The crazy part about that is, even if, let's just say, God forbid, Gabrielle Union did not have enough, she's married to somebody that has more than enough. So she will always
Yeah.
be okay. So it's just funny that she still has that, like, you
Mm-hmm.
better get up and work mindset. And I commend her for that, honestly, because it's easy to get lazy in a situation like that, where it's just like you don't technically have to work to survive because the person that you are with has
Yeah.
already. But the fact that you still get up and do. Now the Gabrielle Union that I like, the version that I see in my head is the one from Daddy's Little Girls. The real one, I don't know really if I like a huge fan of her, but the Daddy's Little Girls version, I love her. So I'm gonna speak like I'm speaking about her from Daddy's Little Girls. Honestly, I don't see nothing really wrong with her saying that they split the thing 50-50. Because in my mind, I feel as though, say Gabrielle Union or the other didn't have it, they both are able to,
Yeah.
you know,
Balance it out.
yeah, balance it out. And it's not like either one is going without by providing this 50-50. Maybe they're able to have this type of lifestyle or do what they do because they split 50-50. Um, I don't really, I don't know really all the details of it, so I can't really say too much about that. I'll save the other part for the rest of the show. But as far as Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade, it's just like that's their business. And the thing is, everybody talking about it has less money than both of them, even one. So it's just like, why is it
No,
like,
yeah. That's why I was like, it was going around about why she was saying that. But I'm like, anybody could split bills 50-50. If we don't have enough money, if we have money, like anybody could split bills 50-50. Like I don't, I didn't understand what that, why that was such like the controversy of the topic. But it was more so, for me, it was more so just her tone, like, that she's head of household. And I'm like, you guys are
mhm,
married, like it should be a partnership regardless of if he's paying or I'm paying, at that point. Because it's like you guys should be like, okay, we have children, the children live here. I also have to think about, you have children, you were married before you have children
yeah,
with someone else, it's like all those things take into account. So I don't think that, she made it seem like, for me, she made it seem like they live in two separate households.
mm,
And I was like, wait, you guys, I'm pretty sure, you guys are married, you live in the same house. So at that point, it's just the scarcity of you not having anything and you guys pay 50-50 shouldn't be a topic of discussion at that point, because if you guys are paying 50-50, I know that you got me and I got you if anything is to happen at that point, especially being married, like say I take a pay cut or, I lose my job or if I quit my job, like I know that at this point I'm married or, my partner is able to provide for me at this point, like it was just like her tone in terms of that, like head of household thing. And I was just like, I don't think that you should be. And like you said, it does go back to, if you came from, you didn't have that and now you have that and you're trying to, just, I guess, adapt to this is what it is. I feel that that mindset should adapt as well, Like, obviously, I'm still going to be worried about it, but it should just be, I guess, a weight off my shoulder at that point,
Yeah.
like just a little bit of a weight, even if it's not the whole weight, it's some of the weight and some of the pressure that I have to utilize to get something done. So that was kind of like my thing. Obviously, like that, we don't know what goes on in the house, like at
Yeah.
this point, but it's just, it's also like how she's portraying that household at this point. It's us like reading into it outside coming in. So I think that it's also when these celebrities do interviews, it's also how they create the narrative, So it's like if I show you who I am in real life, but then if this is the interview and I show you a different narrative, like that makes things, look a little different.
That's
So that was
true.
kind of like my whole thing about that question. I was just like, wait, what? It just like
That's
threw
true.
me off. Like I'm just like, wait, that's so
For me, it was one of those things where like the initial reaction was like, "What? You're doing Wade? Like, why are you
It's
letting
true.
her like
pay.
um pay or like kind of?" Because her tone to me sounded like she was struggling to pay 50/50 in a
Mhm.
sense because she had like so many other people to take care of as well. So like my initial reaction was like, "You're doing Wade. Like, you have the money. You're this celebrity." But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, that's their business. That's how they function. Like, because at the end of the day, like we look at them as celebrities. So we assume like celebrity equals millionaires and money, but we also don't take into account too, like they're human. And because they're out of a higher status, they have higher things that they have to pay for. A lot of times it may seem that like he can cover it all, but in reality, like we just don't know. Like it might be a situation where he just can't cover it all. And because they're both in that position, they both figured like for our relationship, let's just split it half and half. In the aspect of like her coming from nothing and building into something, I could understand that point as well. Because like I feel when you don't have money, it becomes less about the money aspect and more about the mentality where you feel like I'll even have that too where it's like, okay, I'll get a check of something and it's like instead of like feeling like I could splurge it on myself, I always think about like, okay, how can I split this into taking care of everything? And so I feel like in her position, she feels like, okay, even though I have it and I have more than enough, I could always lose it at some point, and I never want to go back into that position. So she's like constantly pushing herself to work, which I do commend as well. But at the same time, like that's kind of a bad method because it's like you're always stressing yourself even when you have the solution in front of you. So for me it was a difficult situation because I was like kind of on both sides where on the one hand it's like you're doing Wade, like you shouldn't allow her to suffer, especially when you have it. But at the same time, like I don't know the situation. And I'm pretty sure if knowing myself, if I was in Dwayne Wade's position with all that money, like of course I would provide for my wife. But at the same time, it's like I don't know his pockets. Like I can't be pocket watching. So maybe he just ran into a situation where it's like he just can't do it all and he needs her help. Which at the end of the day, like that's what a marriage is. Like you have to lean on each other. So it was a difficult situation for me though, because it was like I'm more of like the traditional guy where it's like, okay, I'm gonna be the provider, taking care of my wife, but at the same time, it's 2023 and times are different. So it's like whatever
Yeah.
works for your partnership or marriage, like that's what you should go towards instead of like trying to figure out the norm and like worrying about everybody else's opinion necessarily.
I was trying to think like, okay, if I was in like her shoes, or like, what do I want in the future? Like, do I want somebody that's gonna take care of everything, or do I want to be able to, provide? So now I was thinking about it, and I'm just like, I expect to be at the point where like I don't need you to take care of me and the bills, but if you do, it's a plus. It's just like, why not? Because I'm not gonna stop working regardless. Like, I could marry somebody that's a multimillionaire. I'm not gonna stop my endeavors. I mean, you'll probably be able to help fund some of my endeavors, but I'm not gonna stop my endeavors. I'm not, because I just can't just like not do nothing all day, every day. I just can't not do that. So I think for me, I was thinking like I would probably be like a Gabrielle Union. Like, yes, she married money, but then she's money too. And it's just like they both are assets to each other type thing. Now if you ask me to split the bills, like if I have it, sure. Cause then that just means that I don't know, our house is gonna be even more popping because it's two we both can afford something like bigger and better versus if it was just on one. So just like, sure, why not? But now if it's a situation, God forbid, where it's like either one of us don't have it and we have to depend on one, it becomes a little different. Because like I would never call myself head of household, even if I'm the one that like the income is on me or I get the higher income. Like I'm not gonna call myself that. I was just thinking like in the future, like I'm not gonna complain if you want to take care of all of it, sure. And I think but I would need to put my money somewhere if you get what I'm saying. Like I need to know where I'm putting my money type thing. It's just like then what's the point? So it's just like, okay, you'll take care of the bigger bills and I'll take care of like Wi-Fi or phones or something. Sure.
No, yeah, I feel that I'll be the same. For me, I feel as if as creators and like there's no stopping like working,
Mhm.
like we can stop working, but it's just like there's always something to do. There's always something to make. There's always something to get out there to expand. And it's just like even if we have the money at that point, having that partner makes it easier or just makes it just doable at that point. And then it's just like I'm still not, I want to pay for what I'm able to pay for as well. Like I feel like 50-50 was not a problem. I feel like that was like that should be the perfect thing if that's the case. Or, if someone could pay, like even like you said, if somebody has more money, they could pay the higher bills and I pay whatever bills, or vice versa, whatever it is, whatever makes things easier. It's also what make the household easier to survive at that point.
Yeah, like as long as
Because
nobody, not one person is struggling type thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's a partnership. At the end of the day, it's a partnership. Like we got married, it's two of us. If there's kids, if there's a dog, like this is something like now we have to provide for at that point and take care of. So the house has to be good just as much as we're good. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't think 50-50, is the problem. It was more so her saying like, oh, I'm the head of household, making it seem like, maybe he doesn't do anything. And I'm just like, that's kind of messed up. Like, you should make it like, yeah, I'm da 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 da. Because once you get married, there's no head of household. Like, you're married. It is what it is. We have to make it work for the two of us, for the family at that point. But it's okay. We all know what's going on. But it's also,
Definitely.
like I said, the narrative that you portray to people. Like when we do interviews, any interview, it's the narrative that we portray to the people reading it or viewing it. And that's important because just like Shamar said, like everybody's regular people, but it's also something that you want people to see or know. And it's the narrative that you portray onto that audience because you can say one thing and then that's not really happening at that point.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do workplace because I think that's important. So workplace gender roles, and then we'll do friendships, and then regular everyday relationships, romantic relationships. Okay, Shamar, let's give us a question about work though,
Okay.
about like work relationships.
Like in the workplace? Okay. Let me see. How do you feel about like the pay difference between like a man and woman? And do you feel like women can do men jobs and men can do women jobs necessarily?
Yes. And
It was
there should
just
not be
yeah.
no pay anything. Like,
It should be one. Yeah, it should be
yeah,
one.
I don't believe in that whole like pay cut for a woman and men get more. That's I'm not a fan of that. Because again, like if we're getting the job done, regardless of your gender, how are you changing the pay rate based on if
Right.
I'm a male or female? It's like if I get the
Mm,
job, there are some men or even women that do jobs better than the the role of that. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, cops. Cops was looked at as more of a male, male job. But then we started seeing women in the jobs, and there are some female cops that are better than male cops. So there should be no such thing as a pay difference. It's just like if you're doing your job, then get paid based on how you're doing your job, not what you are, not what you were born to be. Well, in this day and age, what you was born to be or made yourself to be, like I don't think there should be a pay difference.
It shouldn't be a pay difference because like it if I'm doing the job, whatever role we have, I'm doing it,
Yeah.
whether, Sally did it or Tom, Robert, Pam, like whoever did it, like literally, like it still got done. Whether now, my only thing is it's how well it was done. I feel like that's kind of like the question that leads into that more is how well did it get done, you know, because I could have done it differently than you guys have done it, and the person who we're selling it to or we're doing it for likes whichever one of ours better than the other. So now
Mhm.
at that point it's how well it was done. It doesn't mean that we get paid any differently. We still all did the job. It's
Yeah.
just that person just got it, you know, like it was sold to that person, like from that person. So I feel like at that point, it's more so that's the question to ask, not so much who did it, because we all can do it. Just like construction workers,
Mhm.
yo, it's women doing construction.
Mhm.
And it's sad because you'll have the easiest job with, you know, they be waving their little flag and it'd be men doing that job also. So it's like,
Yep.
why should the man get, you know, paid more because he's a man and he's standing around just as much as the woman is standing around? So it's just like, now if I have, there's women that fix their own house,
Yeah.
literally fix their own house and do repairs and remodeling as their career, and that's their job. That fix cars, that's mechanics, that know a car better than a man.
Mhm.
And it's just, you know, and it's just like, why is it that that woman is getting less than that man just because they're a woman? And it's just like that. And it's funny because I was watching the show and the man was trying to figure out why the car wasn't working, and the woman came and she, as soon as she looked at it, she knew what was wrong. And it's just like he asked her, but how would you know that? You know, and it's like it shouldn't be that. Shouldn't be the question. It's,
Yeah.
I know that. You know, it is what it is. Like,
Mhm.
I know this because I know cars, and it's just like a stereotype that everything, it's just a constant stereotypical thing that goes on and on and on, and it shouldn't be like that. In any job that we have, whether it's working for ourselves or working for someone else, it's like, and I'm not gonna lie, I had this experience. Like I really did experience this when I was editing someone's work, and like I don't know, it just seemed like, and it was a man that I was like, that was my client, and it just seemed like he didn't appreciate that I was helping him, you know, and it was more so, you know, constant questions when it was, I'm trying to assist you. I was like, you know, these are the options. It's not so much I'm telling you to change it, but these are the better, you know, these are the options you can take to make it better, you know, to advance the work that you're doing, you know, to make it presentable or readable or understandable at that point. And it was more so, and I felt that way. I was like, wow, is it because I'm a woman? Like, is it because like you don't appreciate like what I'm doing at this point?
Mhm.
So it's like I've experienced that, and it was more so, and I recommended him to a male editor because I was like, I felt that way.
I'm not 100% against gender roles, but I do believe in, I guess the word is chivalry or like being a gentleman or something. So, like for example, if you see a woman carrying something heavy, I think you should, like if a man is standing there, you should assist with that. I don't think that's a gender role thing. It's just like that's just, you don't have to like me. It's just you should want to, like, naturally, I would think a man's instinct is to be like, oh, like let me help with that. I feel like in this day and age, the men literally, like some of the men, let me not say all, some of the men, they literally like they don't even think that, they don't have that type of like mind. It's just like you'll literally stare at me carrying something heavy and nothing in you feels like, oh nah, like let me help. No, that's just weird to me. Like that's, I don't know if that's a gender role of mine, but I do feel like I would think it would come naturally for a man. You would want to like help out.
There's times where like I'll see a guy like if uh and to further that point, like even if a woman is like walking towards the door and it's like a guy's coming out, like he'll let the door close.
Whoa.
And it's like I don't think that's necessarily a gender role either. It's more like it's like common courtesy. Like if you
Yeah,
see her
it's a type of
struggling
man.
or it's like, bro, just hold the door for her. Like it's I understand even if it's like a stranger or somebody you know, like regardless of who it is, like even if it's another guy, like if I see another guy like walking in and I'm about to walk out, like I'll hold the door for him because
Yeah, I do
it's
that
more like a
period. Even if it's a dude coming to the door and I'm walking out, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna hold the door for you. I'm not gonna slam it in your face, but like I'm gonna make a gesture like, oh, I'm holding
yeah.
this for you type thing. But it's just like there's some men that like literally just be, it's just like, and I don't like to say this, but it makes you question the manliness of you. It's just
Mhm.
like, so are you like, This is like what goes through you, because it's just like, bro, I'm not a man, but if I see, even if I see anybody struggling to carry something heavy or the door or whatever, something in me is just like, oh, I should help or let me assist to make it like better for the person. I don't have to know them, but then that, to me, that's not even like a gender thing. It's more of like the type of person you are, period.
And it's
Like,
the courtesy you have, like
yeah, like if you have that, and some people they don't even have that, so I can't even say it was because of the man you are or the
yeah.
whatever how you were raised. It's just like that's just you as a person.
Mhm.
So I think that's my, I don't know if it's a gender role, but I get annoyed. Like I'll purposely pick up something like heavy around men to see, like, let me see if anybody, anything in you just makes you feel like, purposely, let me just see. Because thing is, and I'll do it just to show like I don't really need you either. Like you be in the gym, so do I. I could pick it up too. Like, like if you were gonna stand there and watch me, then I might as well like finesse and actually like work this thing.
Well, tell us. Well, you can tell us, Shahan, what you have going on, and then we can finish like that.
Also, as I said in this show, this is a long show. Um, I'm a creative consultant, so basically you can book a session. You get the first session is free, it's 30 minutes. That's where we see if we fit together, can work together. Um, and then after that, if you want to work with me, I take you on for 4 months and you do monthly payments. Some people choose to do bi-weekly because I guess it's better for their budget or whatever. And we do two 30-minute calls a month, and you have like 24/7 access to like a messenger platform that we have, Slack or whatever. And we just help you with your endeavor. If it's a creative event, a project, or your overall like brand, that's what I do. So you could just hit me up on my website, my first and last name.com, shinewisdom.com. And then, of course, the extras like the graphics and the video editing. I don't mind, you know, doing every now and then. I'm trying to stray away from that though slowly. But yeah. So you can just follow me on Instagram, Shine Wisdom, and you'll see like all the updates and all that type of stuff.
Um, well, the only thing I have going on right now is my docu-series. We're about to be doing segment 5 and 6. So I'm doing Becoming a Mom. I'm doing the postpartum of becoming a mom at this point. I have 6 women who are going to be talking about their experience through postpartum and just overall being a mom. I definitely did uh like this group because it's very diversified in age. So it's going to be a lot of different, I want to say, viewpoints because everyone's like totally different age groups. So, and then I have the sixth one, which is going to be just me. I'm doing a solo docu-series where I would just be kind of like diving into who I am and kind of the project of written articles on camera. I've decided to just full blown go into written articles on camera and like really like put my effort into like this project. So stay tuned for that in June. In June. Other than that, my social media is the same. Read the host on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. Currently I don't have any like big projects or things that I'm working on. Um, I'm trying to get back in, like a consistent creative role. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. It's hard because it's like it's one of those things where I think every creator gets it where it's like you get burnout, where it's just like I don't know what to create. Like, what do I do? I feel like I've done everything that I thought of. So currently I'm like in that phase, like trying to get out of it or get back to it. But yeah, I mean, Instagram and Twitter has always been the same _ we want more.
So as always, guys, to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and of course, we got TikTok. So just follow us on TikTok. TikTok has been doing us really good. So follow us on TikTok. It's everything is underscore. No, I said underscore. It's not underscore. It's TNTK show. Look at me. It's TNTK show on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. As
As
always,
always,
thank
thank
you
you
for
for
watching the
watching this
show.
show.
It's okay.
And that's all you need to know.
Yeah, it's all
My
right,
bad, y'all.
guys. It's
My bad, y'all.
okay.